Sorry, I can't marry you. When I get married, it will be for love and not for money. I will wait until the one that my heart desires propose to me.
Adaugo gently said to Chidi, turning down his marriage proposal. Once upon a time, in a village called Umuka, there lived a beautiful maiden named Adaugo. Her beauty was the kind that made people pause in admiration. Everywhere she went, men could not help but stare at her in wonder. They would whisper among themselves, dreaming of winning her favor. But behind Adaugo's mesmerizing beauty, a dark truth lingered. A truth that no one, not even Adaugo herself, could comprehend. Adaugo had a reputation in the village. Whispers followed her wherever she went, and these whispers were not of admiration. Instead, they spoke of her promiscuity. It was said that no man in the village could resist her, and many had laid with her. Some women in the village pitied her, while others mocked her openly. They didn't know that Adaugo's behavior was not her choice. It all started when Chidi, the wealthiest and most arrogant man in Umuka, approached her family, seeking her hand in marriage. Chidi was known for his cruelty, and Adaugo had no love for him. She turned him down, despite the pressure from her parents, who saw in Chidi a future of wealth and status. Angered by the rejection, Chidi's mother, an old woman with ties to dark spirits, placed a curse on Adaugo. The curse would make her promiscuous, unable to resist the desires of men, humiliating her until no one in the village would want her. Unaware of this curse, Adaugo's life slowly spiraled out of control. Night after night, she found herself in the arms of different men, unable to explain why. Her once pristine reputation was shattered, and soon the village treated her with scorn. The maidens who had once envied her beauty now mocked her, whispering behind her back and laughing openly as she passed by. "She's nothing but a common harlot," one of the maidens, Nkechi, sneered as Adaugo walked by the village square. "She has no shame," another chimed in. "Soon, no man will want her, and she'll be left with nothing." Adaugo, overhearing their cruel words, felt the weight of her shame pressing down on her. Her nights were filled with regret, her days with tears. She had no idea how she had fallen into such a life. Even her parents began to turn away from her, their eyes filled with disappointment and sorrow. It wasn't long before Adaugo discovered she was pregnant. This realization crushed her. She had no idea who the father of her child was, and every man she confronted about it denied ever being responsible. The men who had once been eager to be with her now avoided her, terrified of being associated with the scandal. The village soon became a place of torment for Adaugo. "How could you let this happen, Adaugo?" her mother wept one evening, pacing their small home. "Our family is ruined. Who will marry you now?" Adaugo could not answer. She could only stand there, head bowed, tears streaming down her face as her father stormed out of the room in disgust. The walls seemed to close in on her, the shame and isolation becoming unbearable. One night, after weeks of enduring the villagers' taunts and her family's disappointment, Adaugo made up her mind to end it all. She decided to leave the village and disappear into the forest, far away from everyone. In her despair, she wandered deep into the forest, heading towards a cliff overlooking a deep ravine. It was a place where no one would find her. As she stood there, staring down at the dark abyss, her heart pounded in her chest. Just as she was about to take a step forward, a voice echoed through the forest. "Adaugo, stop!" Adaugo turned sharply, her heart racing in terror. Emerging from the shadows was a man, older than anyone she had ever seen, with long white hair and a staff that seemed to glow in the moonlight. His eyes were kind but sharp, as though they could see right through her. This was Okenwa, the great medicine man who lived in a neighboring kingdom and was known to have powers that went beyond this world. "Why do you seek death when your life has not yet been fulfilled?" Okenwa asked, his voice gentle but firm. Adaugo fell to her knees, unable to speak, as tears streamed down her face. "I have nothing left, Great One," she sobbed. "I have brought shame upon myself and my family. I don't even know who the father of my child is. There is no future for me." Okenwa placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch warm and comforting. "This is not your fault, Adaugo. You have been cursed, but curses can be broken." Adaugo looked up at him, confused. "Cursed? What do you mean?" Okenwa's expression darkened. "When you refused to marry Chidi, his mother laid a curse on you. This curse was meant to bring you shame and humiliation. But that is not your destiny. I see greatness in you, Adaugo, and in the child you carry." Adaugo stared at him, her heart pounding. Could it be true? Could there be more to her life than the shame she had been enduring? Okenwa helped her to her feet and guided her to his home, where he nursed her back to health. There, Adaugo found peace for the first time in months. Okenwa explained to her that love, true love, would break the curse and bring her the happiness she deserved. Weeks passed, and Adaugo's belly grew larger. Though she felt safe with Okenwa, a part of her still feared what lay ahead. How could she ever find peace when her past loomed so large over her future? One day, a visitor arrived at Okenwa's home. Prince Chimezi, the heir to the throne of a neighboring kingdom, had come to seek counsel from the medicine man. As he stepped into the room, his eyes fell on Adaugo, and recognition flashed across his face. "Adaugo," he said, his voice filled with surprise. Adaugo looked up at him, her breath catching in her throat. She had seen this man before, though it took her a moment to place him. Then it hit her. He was the kind stranger she had met in Umuka months ago. They had spent a night together, but she had never seen him again. You were the one," she whispered, her hand instinctively moving to her swollen belly. Chimezi's eyes widened as he looked from Adaugo to her stomach. Is it possible? Is the child mine?" Adaugo nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "I didn't know who you were that night. I didn't even know if I would see you again." Chimezi stepped forward, his expression softening. "I left the kingdom before my coronation to clear my mind, to escape the pressures of the throne. I met you, and for one night, I felt free. I had no idea you would carry my child." Before Adaugo could respond, Okenwa stepped forward, holding out a cloth that contained an ancient symbol of their people. He opened it to reveal the mark of the royal bloodline, one that could only be passed through the child of a prince. "The child carries the mark of your lineage," Okenwa confirmed, his voice steady. "This is your child, Prince Chimezi." Chimezi's face softened as he knelt before Adaugo, taking her hands in his. "Adaugo, I left you once, but I will not leave you again. Come with me. Be my wife. Let us raise this child together, and I promise you, you will never feel shame again." Adaugo looked into his eyes, her heart swelling with emotion. Could this be the love that Okenwa had spoken of? Could this be her redemption? She had been lost for so long, and now here was a man who saw her not for her past, but for the woman she truly was. I will go with you, Chimezi," she whispered, her voice trembling. And so, Adaugo left the village of Umuka behind, her head held high as she walked beside the prince. They returned to his kingdom, where Adaugo was welcomed as the prince's wife and the mother of his heir. The villagers, who had once mocked and scorned her, now marveled at her strength and grace. Chimezi kept his promise, and their love grew stronger with each passing day. The curse that had once bound Adaugo was broken, not by magic, but by the power of love, forgiveness, and acceptance. She had found her peace, and with it, the strength to move forward. Years later, Adaugo would sit in the palace garden, watching her son, now a young boy, play with his father. She smiled, feeling the warmth of the sun on her skin and the contentment in her heart. She had once been broken, but now she was whole. And as she gazed at her family, she knew that her story, once filled with shame and sorrow, had become one of redemption and hope. Adaugo had found her place, not in the shadows of her past, but in the light of her future. And thus, her story became a tale passed down through generations, a story of beauty, struggle, and the undeniable. In the end, Adaugo had found not only love, but also peace, just as Okenwa had foretold. The end.